Okay, we are live now here for the paperback launch of God's Bubble, and I am Kalambabu, and with me are my co-author Lavanya, the editor Nina, and the founder of Ika Press, Swapnil. Very glad to be here this evening for the formal launch of God's Bubble paperback and a discussion around it. So first, I'll give my introduction. I am a senior software professional and I do natural language processing. That's a flowery way of saying I do writing, both in human languages as well as um, computer languages. Um, but I don't make life complex. I value simplicity and I pursue it. My qualifications: I am an engineer from NIT Nagpur and have an MBA from USA. But one of the most happiest uh, events in my life has been the founding of Hydra in 2018. Hydra is the acronym for Hyderabad Readers and Writers. And I debuted in 2018 with a short story collection called It Did Not Happen One Night, followed up in 2019 with There Is No One New Around You. That's another my second short story collection, and the third one called Transition in 2020. My stories have also been published in Hydros anthologies Advent and Chronicles. My first novel was uh, co-authored with Lavanya, published by Swapnil, and launched by Nina. So we're all the gang is back again today for follow through 2022 with God's Bubble, right? And I hope we as literates as well as individuals have evolved and grown in the last 1 year after seeing the strutting light bugs through, and hope we'll have some discussion around it. I know why Nina is laughing. Okay. So next off is my co-author Lavanya Nukavarapu, who is a finance professional. Used to deliberate on finance, and one day literature beckoned her, and she became a compulsive writer without penning a few words, could not go to bed after that. First book is Bare Thoughts, released in 2018, which incidentally the name used for her publishing arm, Bare Thought List, which has published God's Bubble also. First novel by Lavanya is in 2019 called The Captive, a psychological thriller. She followed up with Cigarette Sex Love in 2020. And third time lucky, she co-authored Strutting Lightbugs with me. And apart from novels and poetry, she also spends a good deal of time in playing the editor role and guiding upcoming writers and college students. The third panel member, not in any order of precedence, is Nina George Kunnath. Nina works as program coordinator and language teacher in an international school, and we think she's very creative, but she's awed by the creativity of tiny tots, um, and is amazed by their stories, and she passes on those amazing stories and anecdotes to us. Previously, Nina worked as assistant headmistress in a Montessori group school and participates with fervor and passion in online theaters, that is, play and acting online. She reads poetry and appreciates the nuances of noiseless rhythms and imagery. Occasionally dabbles in writing and gives a lot of smiles and happiness when in a group with like-minded people like us, right? And finally, we have in a panel tonight my young friend, but more like a brother, Swapnil Saurav, very close to my heart, outside of my family. Swapnil Saurav was born in Saharsa, Bihar, but grew up in Hyderabad, and he has been here since 1990. So I think he's more than 50% Hyderabadi now, and maybe the Bihari time of his life is now lesser than Hyderabad. He works
75%.
75% Hyderabadi, 25 Bihari. Yeah, and he's in the software industry, and his domain is supply chain, solves customers' problems in supply chain and logistics, and has customers from uh, auxiliary or adjacent domains like healthcare, retail, and manufacturing. He's a prolific writer. Started writing in 2013, and one of the motives for starting Eka Press, the parent company of Bear Thoughts Lit. And once he got in touch with Hydro, the uh, tasted blood with fiction, and so added fiction to his repertoire after Advent has come. And he writes about common people, describes things which can happen in anybody's life, but like we have seen in his latest story in Deviance, the common people can be from another planet also. Um, the cool thing about Swapnil is he writes prose in English and poetry in Hindi, very bilingual, and has won Story Mirror Author of the Year award for Hindi writing. I think it was 2019, if I'm not wrong.
90.
Uh,
Yes.
right. So that's the panel for tonight, and I'm very pleased to be here. Very proud, actually. I think all four of us have come a long way in the last couple of years in our own life as well as in literature, and it's a good time to catch up and have some lovely discussion. But we'll start off with the formal launch of the paperback of God's Bubble by Lavanya.
Thanks. So before we launch the paperback, I think it's lovely to have started the same thing for starting like this. And as we evolved as authors, we have the same friends who have like almost become a family. So that is really awesome in a way that as you go along in life, you carry your friends who are like a family with you. And with that amazing thought,
In
I think
fact,
like
in fact, I would like to add a small qualifier here. The family kind of recedes as you grow, and the friends kind of come closer as you grow in
yes.
age, right?
But to carry the same friends throughout your journey, that is something I guess I don't know how recurring it is or how often you see. A lot of times we say that we meet people and then we move forward, there change, right? There are new groups added. But to always retain those old friends of ours with us, I think that's amazing. I don't know. Somehow I am feeling very emotional. I just didn't realize this before. But just when Mehboob said, I said, yeah, so true. That I mean, we are just growing together. It's nice. Okay, so paperback launch of God's Bill. Within a minute, I'll share my screen and we'll launch the book. But before that, a little brief. Why only paperback? We don't have a Kindle version of God's Bible because God's Bubble is a part of interactive novel in which this is one of the thread. So the interactive novel is called Crossstrings, and there are stories written by three more authors. One is by Naseha, uh, Fiza Yunus, Surya Kalagar, and Ali Dharmi Prabhu. So this is a whole package of interactive novel, and even God's Bubble theme or premise or plot started with that. So the ebook is out there. Today we'll only launch the paperback. So give me a minute. I will share my screen. Okay. So here we go. I hope you all can see my screen. All right. So I have entered all the details here. If you see, this is what we are going to do. So we'll
I'm
just
not able to see. Um,
are Nina and Mehboob, are you able to see?
No,
No, I can't see it.
Okay. Let me stop sharing. Share again. Okay.
I can't see. Yeah. Sorry for that.
I'll share my entire screen. Can you see it now?
Not yet.
Not yet. It is saying stop sharing. That means it is sharing. Sharing the stream, tap to streamyard.com.
Okay, I'll add to the stream. One second. Yeah, there you go.
Yes,
Oh,
it's coming. It's coming, coming.
Yes.
Oh, there you go.
okay. So I've entered all the details. I just you just say save and finish. So the book will be live within 15 minutes. So officially we have launched the paperback on Amazon. So once, so yeah, so that's it. Okay, I'll stop sharing now. So yes, this God's Bubble had took more than a year, almost a year to finish off editing, writing, and everything. I don't know. Somehow I feel a lot relieved now. Since the paperback is out there. Otherwise, it was like a continuation. So much about it. So I think before we go further, I just would like to ask Nina to share her thoughts. So when we had approached Nina to do the editing of God's novel and she went to the manuscript, so what was your first thought and how did it feel?
I was not like I was not said like I was the editor kind of. But when I got the script and Mehboob sir and Lavanya, they were like, "Can you just read this book and comment on?" It?" I was like, "Okay, fine, wait to go ahead." But then I just got um, I don't want to make it right. The first book, the name, the title. I've always had that Punism. What is it? Blood bugs, bugs.
Start.
Strutting like bugs.
I don't want to get
But
okay. So
Strutting
Strutting
like
light
bugs.
bug.
light bulb. Okay. So
So
I
one way
was
to remember is strutting is dance. Like so it's basically the
starting like
fireflies dancing. We
yeah,
didn't want
like
to say dance, so that's why we said
yeah,
strutting.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like
So
strutting, like that
when I
ada
got
or that
when I was
catwalk.
given this book to get edited, I was on my way to Kolkata and I was excited about it, but then I still didn't want to give no. So I wanted to read that first and then read God's Bubble. So on the way all through from Kerala to Kolkata, I was immersed in that book. And I didn't know what was happening around. I was so immersed in the book. I loved it, every bit of it. And I was giving my suggestions as well. And then I came back from Kolkata. I had the script. I started reading on the flight. I couldn't keep it down. My brother's marriage was also coming on like May 16th. And May 2nd, 16th, I've written it. Like, 2nd to May 15th, I've been reading it. And I couldn't keep it down. I mean, it's my brother's, my brother's marriage happening and a lot of exciting thing happening. But as exciting it is the book. And it was an amazing experience. I felt like I've watched. I mean, there's so much I could connect. Like if God had been on Earth, I don't want to make it the spoilers, but what he would have done, what he could have done because of the social media, the misinterpretations and the misuse of it and everything. And I was discussing this with them also. I'm getting intimidated by some of the characters also, and I really don't want to meet them alive. So real damn scary. But at the same time, it was a roller coaster ride, and I enjoyed every bit of it. I could relate it to my life as well. Why we go through some hardships, there's a reason behind it, and I got very close to some of the characters. Even the antagonist. I mean, I felt at the end, I felt like okay, he's. I mean, I can understand why he has gone through it, and yeah, it was so vivid. It was a beautiful experience. It's my first like an editor kind of thing. I never expected that. I was taken by surprise, and I was like, wow, okay. They're so open enough to thank you for the opportunity. And as my book said, I feel like a family. I've not met you people ever. We met during the COVID season and happened to be there for all online meetings. And for a couple of months, I guess I said that I seriously want to meet you guys live and, offline and, share the joy. So yeah, it was amazing experience. I know I still carry some of the lines over there. which are thought provoking and which are motivational for me enough. I've underlined those lines, and it was an amazing experience. I didn't have much to change except that some. It's beautiful the way it is, as vivid as God's bubble is. How can it be? Yeah,
No, but you did make out some excellent points that I don't know, somehow we had lost it. It could be like
yeah.
small points, not a major storyline
I
that we
mean
had
that's
planned. Something.
human. I mean, because you've done so much of research into all of this, so there were some points that from the viewers. That's it. I mean, there's so much of vivid explanation and background, like some of the antagonists. Like I could understand why we doing it. So that much of research has gone into every person's personality, character, backstory, and everything. So it's human that, like, even as a team collaborating, it happens that something misses out. So yeah, I was glad to be here. I mean, it crosses the whole world. So yeah, and when I was giving you the suggestion, I was like, okay, they have to research again. I'll spend a day on that again. I know, but I still want it. Like as a reader, I still want the details again, because just these parts they were not details, the others were vivid. So yeah, yeah, that's what.
One feedback that I vividly remember and liked from you, Nina, was that after having read Strutting Lightbugs and now God's Bubble, your writing should be taken out or reached out to more people, right? Right, and it was very proud moment for us. Could you just
Yeah,
elaborate a bit
definitely.
why and how? I mean, that it should be spread to more our stories to more and more people.
It's being very it would make the readers much more open minded. You have to open up to people and respect people for the way they are and not judge them. There are many other underlying messages, ethical reasons, and everything that is there in both the stories. And sometimes it is through movies, sometimes it is through poems that we spread across this message of peace and unity, and not to be judgmental, the phases that people go through in many forms. And this novel has, in both of it, there's definitely a clear message that the audience, the viewers, the readers can understand and carry it along with them, you know and it's very deep and integral. And that I could say, some books can, maybe change your viewpoint. It can add a little bit of a stroke in your life, a beautiful line of colorful stroke in your life. So this such book is it is. I strongly suggest both of it. And not, I mean, I understand that it not just stick to reading community. It should also, I mean, it's so vivid and it has been explained. Like I have read a script just recently, a movie script, and I was like, this is very easy to make it a script. I mean, not for a movie. It should be a series. Like, there's thrill and suspense, and, something happens, and end of every one chapter, I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going to happen next. I have to do this duty and then come back. I sit through the night, not just because, it was given to me as an editing, but as a reader, I enjoyed it every bit. So every time this chapter ends, especially in God's Bubble, it's like, peak point, something, okay, what's going to happen now? Kind of, on the edge of the seat. And yeah, so that's what I was telling, not movie, series. It's definitely series, a Netflix or Prime or Amazon, a series. And the elements of that, all of that is there. Basically because you've written it so beautifully, but there should be viewers who cannot basically read all of it, so they can see it live. That message is universal. It's international minded. It should go across, especially not just in India, across. People have to be open minded. I mean, if to support the community that is there, that like struggling like bugs, and the other. So and about God's bubble, there's definitely a clear message that is there. It's not just entertainment. There is a message that people could take along with them. So that's why I suggested that.
Yeah. Um,
Thank you for that
I think in
beautiful.
terms of putting it on celluloid. God's Bubble need a bigger budget than Strutting Lightbugs. I think Strutting Lightbugs is more on the artists and the art.
Yes, dance definitely is a form of expression, and the way the dance has been described, I'm really thrilling. I mean, even during the launch, the guest of honor, I guess Romi ma'am, she was talking about it, how vividly you had done so definitely a dance. So, we look forward for it. I mean, how would I have been? And yeah, in God's bubble, the locations will be across the world. Yeah, so the budget a snap from Europe, a snap from America, a snap, like
From
everywhere. Yeah. So Ayan is like, controlling everywhere, so that should be there. And then the climax, whoa, I really want to see that. I mean, I've read through the words, so I really want, like, tip of, I'm not spoilers, but tip of that, when he experienced that change and, um, yeah, I just want to see it real too. It would be exciting for the viewers as well.
right on the mechanics of making visual content, I think Swapnil is more experienced than the other three of us. So, what do you say, Swapnil? What
First of
Nilesh?
all, yeah, I think, sir, first of all, thank you so much. And I'll repeat what I said when you first time told me that, I'll be part of the panel, that I'm really honored. I'm honored to be among this group, right? I have not read the book like Nina, but I have read your work. I mean, when I say your, Kalambabu as a separate, Lavani as a separate work, and I've read combined work as well. So, so I know about your writing. I know you as a human being. Like, we have worked for almost, I think, more than 4 years now.
Right.
So yes, and I was really looking forward for this book. The first time when you announced it about the book, right? I think idea came long back, I guess, right? I think at the time of writing Strutting Like Bugs, that's when the idea came. But you held it back. The first focus on Strutting Light Bugs, and then you started working on it. So
So
it
no, a small correction there. The idea started as a Hydra interactive novel by Nasiha in the
okay.
group.
Oh, okay,
Now,
okay,
now to work on the Lavanya part, God's Bubble, that decision was taken after Starting Bugs was launched.
okay.
The event was over, and then okay, we released. That was April 19th, 2020, 21 maybe. Yeah. So Nina, you always there. We launched it, and the next day, or a couple of days later, okay, what do I do next? I said I will go on to write my next short story anthology. You finish your interactive novel part, and then we'll join hands for our novel plots that we have, about four or five. So
Right.
Lavanya was saying this part it actually can go into various directions, and what part I'm thinking may end up 20,000, 25,000 words, and so on. And I was like, okay, so just pull whatever you can, and then in the meanwhile, I'll focus on my next anthology. Then it says it requires a lot of layers. Then I said, Lavanya, tell me directly, what do you want to say? Don't mince words. I said, will you write with me? I said, of course. Is that a question to ask? Let's do it. And that was in April of last year after Shutting Bugs was launched. So you're right. Technically, it took about a year. But the idea is actually the interactive novel that um, Nasiha started in the group. That was,
Right.
yeah.
They triggered it more.
And uh, two of you coming together second time makes it even more interesting, right? First time, I think probably you just want to experiment and you just want to try,
Yes.
but definitely the first time clicked, it worked. That's why you decided to partner again, right? So it's great to see you
Right.
partnering second time.
So,
And I
so,
had
so when somebody asks the question, "Will you team up with me?" It means we've done well. We'll do it again. And then the other person replies
exactly
immediately, "Of course." It means I am also having the same thoughts that we make
same
a
that
good team.
exactly.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So,
So yeah.
so I can, although as I said, I have not read this book, but I have seen the forward, right? So I know a little bit about what it is. So I'm really looking forward to read, sir. So So Lavanya, after 15 minutes, I should be able to order one copy, right? Do you have the book? Can we see the cover? Awesome. No, this is
Hey,
this is
not
not
showing.
the
Oh, dear.
this is not
Sorry.
This is called a book malfunction. Like what?
nice. Really nice.
But
I'm really looking
the
forward to it. Yeah.
people names are same though on both the covers. Yeah. The
Yes,
names on both the
and I'm
covers are
sure
same.
after a few weeks we'll have a lot more such work with those two names.
Yes, yes. I
Sure.
think
Yeah.
we are really evolving as a team. We definitely
That's
want
good.
to collaborate and work as a team. Somehow,
So do
I
you
don't
also
know.
see a
Yeah.
friction of ideas? Okay, not writing but ideas. Let's go in this way. You'll say no, no. Let's try in this way. Do you see that kind of friction when you work together? And especially, I think God's bubble, as the name suggests, I'm sure there's a lot of things. And see, sci-fi is not normal, right? Something which is something beyond is our imagination, right? Two different people cannot have same imagination, right? So if you're writing a normal story, probably we can compromise on one path. But when you're imagining, right, it'll be a lot of clash, right? No, let's go this. I think this is the right way. You'll say no. I think this is the right way. So how do you manage this that kind of friction in imagination?
I don't think we have friction in any. Yeah, it's a very big word to say friction. But what usually we do is, if I get an idea, Mehboob is the first person to come and share it.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
And I mean, it's just that we have become so comfortable after starting like bugs. We have also evolved as writers. And starting like bugs, yes, we never had friction as such. We had a lot of discussions. I wouldn't say even we had an argument. Yes, we. You're right. Like two people can see a particular point in two different ways, and that happened in starting light bulbs. But as we worked through our first project, we were comfortable with each other. We knew what we were thinking. So mostly when I try come up with an idea to Mehboob or he comes up, we know what he is thinking. He knows what I am thinking. Or he probably says that, this is how we'll go. It is something that I usually think, or that is how I come up with. So I think working more than and with God's bubble, it has become much more, what do you say, it's like second
Strong.
nature, strong or second nature. I know what Mehboob will say. Like before I take an idea to him, I know he probably will pinpoint me this particular flaw, or he'll say no, this is not right, or you are being too much cliched, or you haven't layered it, something like that. So we know now each other, and also working together for some. I mean, past 1 year and almost 2 years. Starting Lightbox took almost more than 6 months, I guess. This is like almost 1 year. So we know each other's strengths also. So for studying like bugs, we had actually we didn't know how to divide the writing. So we just like discussed. You said, okay, you take it whatever you're comfortable. I'll take it whatever I'm comfortable, and then we'll see. So we didn't know at that time, and then we had to compare each other's writings and see how we can, like kind of look it as a wholesome piece. But when it came to God's bubble, we I mean we knew like you will write this, I'll write this. We divided the characters also like that. We didn't have much discussion on that part. We had a discussion on how to like kind of what will be the details, how are we going to do act one, act two, and act three. Basically the story discussion. But what he will write and what I will write, we had it in mind, and when we discussed, okay, you take this, I'm doing this. So and when the final stages of editing came, and that time also we knew that okay, like I knew that I'm not very good in research or adding that depth layer. I'm good in imagination, maybe try out a different narrative style. Wherever I thought there is a lack of depth, I would leave it there for Mehboob to fill it up. And it happened the other way also with Nehru or with Kalam Babu. Like wherever he thought it needs much more imagination, little more imaginative because he used to leave that gap. He has to fill it. So we just, I
and
mean,
and she and she would put a note saying, here write about God, here write about DNA, and then in my part, I will write, Lavanya, please insert a classic English poem here. And, and you will see a poem, you will see some information about DNA. That is actually part of the other person, but that section is filled by me, the like the DNA, chromosome, the science part. And then there will be one poem, I think she selected from, I forgot the poet's name. That part, please insert a poem I wrote and left it there. Now it's all, uh, uh, when there is a difference of opinion, there was never a friction actually. I think, Lavanya will think better from the reader's point of view. So I let one day pass, maybe overnight, and then try to see what she has taken the decision on what basis. The major change was, in one character, right? The antagonist is Dimitri, okay, but his soldier is Roy, who actually fights, Ian, right? The connection in between them was a sponsor. There was a sponsor in our outline, right?
Okay.
Roy, the fellow who fights Ian, Dimitri, the antagonist, but there is a sponsor of Roy, the that project, right? And we are trying to name that character and figure out American, what kind of person, age, and all. And then the next day she says, "No need, let's kill him." Dimitri is both the antagonist and the sponsor, one character less. So Swapnil, somebody says kill your character, अच्छा नहीं लगता है ना, बुरा लगता है. I mean, I visualize that character, and she coolly says kill it. Not Dimitri is both the antagonist and the sponsor of Roy, right? So I didn't show it emotionally, but I didn't. I was like, ऐसा होता है क्या? I mean, a lot of things will go away. But then next I thought it made sense. It actually adds depth to Dimitri. Instead of just being an antagonist cult leader, he's doing something on the sides with his sponsorship. That will reveal actually. I should not, maybe I don't know if that's it. That added depth to Dimitri, and I saw Lavanya's viewpoint after 1 or 2 days, and then after the second, I said, "Yeah, this is the right decision. No need for that extra character," and it came out very well. So, Bichara Ayan goes from India to Russia, and then straight forward to California, because there's no middle character, right? So it smoothened the story flow and added depth, and we then could figure out how to get rid of the antagonist. So that the sponsor himself, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, sir, I mean, you both made a very valid point, and this will serve as a lessons for all those who are budding writers, right? That don't stick to your character. It's the story is important, and it's your
Exactly.
partner, your friend, or let's say your reader. Sometimes, reader says, your editor says, right? You should give it a thought why the other person is telling you to do so, right? And sometimes we think it's our baby, right? No, it's the whole story is your baby, not just the character. So I think,
True.
yeah, it's a big lessons for all the budding writers.
And as writers, we always put the story first. Next comes
Exactly. Yeah.
Lavanya, or third comes Kalamba. It's not that.
Right.
It's the story that is important. And
Right.
if the story demands that, I have to keep my ego aside. And Kalambabu
Right.
has to keep his perception or thought aside. That's it. The story
Right.
comes first. We are second. So there's sometimes there is this conflict between the artist versus engineer and all. But like I said, we keep the story first.
Right. Right.
Yeah, talking
Right,
about
and I think it's very complementary. Some parts of the story or any major work require artistic like brush by the author. You go. Some parts will require a structured writing like an engineer. You can't write a flowery artistic completely book, or write very structured. You can expect that next page will be a act two or a conflict next page. You can't be an engineer throughout. So combining the artistic writing of Lavanya with the structured engineering writing of mine, we kind of make the best of two in our product, and hope it works. I
the
mean, for the
combo.
reader very well, right? So yeah. I mean, when I say structured engineering approach, anything I write, I divide into five parts. Anything, a short story, there has to be five. A chapter of a book, five. I put five things, and within that five, which scene, scene number three, again I divide into three. So if you can scan a chapter that is your best guess that Kalambabu wrote and Lavanya, you'll see that structure. If you scan the chapter properly and see kind of artistic colors and flow, no, okay, after one and a half page comes the next section, or just close and you can think that's Lavanya. So overall, it's like a mosaic of both the approaches, and I think it's working in our favor. I think.
I really love that part. I guess I mentioned it also as a reader.
Mhm.
I mean, I do love the artistic part where it goes continuous. But when you're putting it in structures, now I can get it. I see that pattern. So I specifically said that, because when a reader is reading and there's so many details and, the plot goes, one place to another and then twisters and turns coming in. So at times when, for example, if I'm reading The Little Woman or, the classics that is there, the entire story is in one page, one whole paragraph. Now, if I just close the book or just keep a bookmark and then come up, open it, I have to read that whole thing to come to that point where I stopped. But now but in this book, there are those paragraphs, which was so helpful for me that I know, okay, I didn't understand this part. Better go to this part. I know it is there in this right paragraph up there. So it kind of gave a very good ease to the readers, me specifically, um, how to go back and understand what has really happened. Sometimes we do overread, skim and scan and things of that sort. So I would definitely guess out, okay, this, I missed it in that paragraph. Just turn the page, here it is there. And that short paragraph. So that's lovely, actually. So I could see that. And I can get it. I got it. I got there the parts. And I do have a question out there. So, Dimitri, there are a lot of antagonists for that matter, the villains and all. But this is
Before you go ahead, Nina, I just remembered that poem. It's on page 164. Uh, the poem Lavanya selected is by Emily Dickinson.
okay. I don't have page number, so I'll have to
Chapter 20. Chapter 20.
chapter 20. Okay, okay, all right.
I think it's so nice to see, right? I mean, when we talk about sci-fi and this kind of, right, it's always futuristic. But if you pick
Mhm.
a classical poem, it makes
Uh-huh.
even more curious. I mean, to me to pick up
So,
or the
so I
story.
was right. I was writing that chapter, the last chapter, on it needed a poem, not that structured thing I wrote about Twitter and news and all, very like a engineering. I thought a poem is required, so I put a note there. Lavanya, please add a poem and see what a great fit is. It talks of consciousness, and the poem is by Emily Dickinson. That insert was done by Lavanya, so that was an example. I couldn't recollect the poem a few minutes earlier. Now I recollect. Yeah. Go ahead, Swapni.
So yeah, I'm saying that the mixed future versus the classical thing. And you mentioned one more thing: Twitter, internet. So do you think it? I don't know. I'm not read, so I'm just asking. Since you mentioned Twitter, so what are you projecting it as? It's something which is useful for the society, or the whole problem is because of the internet. I mean, what is it? If you want to share something on that.
I think that's the premise of the book, and that's what Lavanya started it off. I think, yeah, she can.
It's actually an ironical take on internet and social media. But even God cannot control it. That's what God's bubble is basically.
Oh, okay. So
It's you. So you also have to see the transition of God in this book. Like it comes with all this ego and all that. I can do a lot of things, but slowly it is like the creation. So there are a lot of philosophical aspects that we have added in this. One of it is consciousness. One is the intelligent design theory, and then there is this creator and creation. So the story probably is like a fiction. Somebody trying to fix the internet. Ian is trying to kind of, reach his own journey and all that stuff. But if you go deeper, it asks you a lot of questions about humanity and about the creator himself. Why internet? Why this entire world has been created? And it's actually a ironical or what you say sarcastic take that God himself is in this bubble that he can control. But over a period of so many millennia and all that, the creation has exceeded the creator. The creation has its own mind, its own soul, its own framework. It's automated in its own way, that it works on its own way. And that is where karma, one of the main characters in this book, is actually a woman. I mean, here, but he's actually the karma that we talk about, bitch. Karma is a bitch and all this stuff.
Badass bitch.
And she's actually badass in this book. And that is how the entire story is. That is the basic, what you say, the main theme behind the story.
I was,
And
yeah, I would just like to add to it also. Basically, the victims of social media abuse, they can definitely connect to it. They would, after reading the book, they would be like, I have been once in time, and I could really connect to it. I really could connect to the part that, this should have happened. It should not have been fiction. It should be real. The messages that Ian gives to every kind of user who have misused the social media, it should have been. I mean, it's a triggering thought to the, maybe, Facebook or any kind of, they can pick it up. That you can't just invade into the privacy of people, or, abuse anyone or defame anyone, or misuse it. Anything using an excess turns out to be, poison. I mean, that way. So there's a border that you have to keep. There's a limit that you have to keep. Internet, it's good. It connects to people, but it should not be that to cause any harm to another human being.
And it
So
is
in
the
that,
person or the human being that should take the responsibility or accountability.
exactly,
You cannot
exactly.
just blame the other people, God, creation, everyone. It's basically you who has
Exactly.
to.
Yeah, I mean, he was like, I felt like he was definitely helpless. Like, humans
Of
created,
course, nobody
humans
can
are
do
creating
it.
problems, and I am the one to solve it. I mean, hello, you guys created the problem, and so you guys create the solution. Where should, and the way he's struggling with that, it's so crazy. Like, I can imagine he's sitting up there, like, what, what, what is this mess that you guys have created? Now I have to come and solve it.
Exactly. And that's like, it's fun. I mean, when I was writing and we were discussing also, we had so much fun thinking of all this. That really how God, how a creator must be feeling about us, right? I don't know. I mean, so, and I said, like, as the story advances, there are a lot of philosophical and other questions that come to you, and everybody will have their own interpretation. Of course, there's a solution in the end, how it can be, and which kind of leads to a in future when we do second part of God's Bible. But and the solution is also very interesting, not something that usually people will predict. So let's see when we
Yeah,
I
will.
and actually, this leads to my one important question. I was listening to all that you said. How do you
Mhm.
connect science fiction, something like this, what you said, to a culture? When I say a culture, probably it's cultures, right? I mean, we have so many cultures, different cultures. Then how do you see where this book fits into that? I don't know. I mean,
It fits into
that
every
just came to
culture.
mind. Yeah.
Yeah. So culture, it fits into every culture. I would suggest because here in our version, God Himself is different. God is not the Ram or Krishna or Jew or a Jesus Christ or Guru or any other God. He is an architect, that's it. He is an engineer, top notch engineer, and he runs this world using software codes and other things. I think this itself is a really different take on, what do you say, on the creator. We have seen many books where it goes into mythology, it connects somewhere to that sentimental, emotional kind of thing. But it is not. God, just the creator we are saying. We are not bringing any religion, any culture. It is for everyone to be truthful and everyone to think how the world probably works. Is this a different way to look at the world? And not kind of blaming anything else, but taking responsibility of our actions and see how best we can do. That's all the book says. But it is a funny in a way that we have added creator, and then there's karma, and there are a lot of other things that are going on.
And we also say that trolling and cyber attacks attack every country. If you see the story,
Yes.
it's not just Indians or Americans or it is who get trolled or cyber attacked
Yes.
in the story. There is
Hmm. Different.
Europeans, there Japanese.
Yeah.
Though it's not very detailed, but this internet abuse in terms of cyber attacks and trolling is affecting all cultures. Is the stand we took when writing the story,
In fact,
uh, and
the story starts with a discussion where Ayan is asking many questions about the internet. And how can the creator sit there and watch like going all this heaven? I mean, I think I'm giving a lot of the story. I'll keep quiet. I'll allow let my group take up this further.
right. Yeah, I mean, I think it's not uh, like a culture specific story we are telling. It's a human story, cross
Definitely.
cultural
It's
victims
universal.
of
It's
internet
universal.
abuse and trolling. Yeah, yeah.
No matter which country you're from, which background, which culture you're from, as long as you have internet in your hands, you are in a risk. You are getting it into to a risk. So there are people who don't know about internet. I mean, I do know of people who actually abstain themselves for a week just from the social media. And but then how long can you go? How long can you go? I mean, if you want to know what is happening out in the world, you definitely have to get it up there. Okay, so I mean, it's like my brother, so BB Chatter, like he was just telling for a week, I'm just closing it down. But then he was like, I don't know how long I can do that. I need to get connected to my people, or people want to reach me out. So then again, you're put into a risk. There is always a risk. So who's taking responsibility? Who takes it responsibility? Who's been accountable? Nobody's been accountable for the mistakes that they have done.
Right,
So that's when the picture comes, like, how this is sort of, and it's not an easy way out for him to solve it out. And that is something, I absolutely love about it. Like, it's there in every kind of mythological story or the religious kind of story that is there, that he had to go through hardship, and that's there in a very beautiful, vivid way that is there. And I definitely want to visit all those places that is being described in the book. It was so beautifully explained about the old woman, and I was like, is she like that? Is she like this? Okay, there should be someone out there. So I just
No, I do. You brought a valid point, Nina. People usually think God's job is easy, and we have this tendency of putting everything on the creator or the architect. It's not like that. He himself has his own set of problems, and the
I,
way he made it was.
Yeah, because he loves everyone. It's not like, I will only like the people who go to church. I'll only like the people who go to temple. He loves every creation. And there's a point wherein, am I doing it as like a spoiler? But, I love the fact he's looking at his creations like, wow, whoa, I've created a beautiful thing out there. I mean, those thoughts, like, taking a step back, like putting in the shoes, that was amazing. It was wonderful.
It was the biggest challenge. It was the biggest
Yeah. And
challenge in the
Worth
book
it.
to
It
bring
was
it.
worth it. I can
so
understand.
even Dimitri was
Thought
created by God,
process.
right?
Yes, exactly.
True.
And but yeah, that's what like I mean, and that's why we have to bring Karma, who is like in stark contrast to God's character. Well,
Her
God loves
end.
everybody. Well, the Creator loves every creation. He likes the world, His universe and cosmos, and He's so much in love with it. Karma is exactly opposite. She doesn't have any feelings, any emotions. You do good, you will get good in return. You do wrong, I will punish you. And that is how the entire story kind of goes on, with her
right,
being the spoil sport in entire Ayan's idea, or So I mean, it's a
right.
uh,
See, Dimitri as if it is a real story, God creates Dimitri also, but um, on the division of labor or the distribution of tasks, karma was fashioned by Lavanya and Dimitri by me. Like, so you should create.
Could
So
make it that
it's
hard.
not God who created karma and Dimitri. At least in our book, it is Lavanya who
Because
created karma and Kalambabu who created Dimitri in the book. I mean, everything is created by God. Finally, that's fine. So Vasanti, the domestic help of Ayan on Earth, was also fashioned and sculpted by Lavanya. So where there is this female perspective or the character building of women characters, I think it's a natural what you call choice that Lavanya will develop this character acts and develop so beautifully, like she did with Sravanya in Strutting Lightbugs, and repeated that with Vasanti and Karma in um, अपना क्या God's Bubble. And if you like Bhushan in a certain way, you like Dimitri also in a different way. I mean, it's actually uncool to say you like the villain, but um, the way we build the antagonist, it's difficult to hate both Bhushan and Dimitri. People who have read both the books actually will get to know कि, yeah, these guys kill, but yeah, I think we like them, and then when the climax come, kind of sympathize with them. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's a real fact, right? Like, nobody is right and wrong entirely. You cannot. There is always a little bit of goodness in every kind of, so there's a reason behind why he was designed that. I mean, why he turned out to be like that. You do give a clear background story for that. So it was enriching at the same time. You cannot put the people into a bad, wrong, right, okay type of category. Everyone is a creation of God. So we have all our versions of our mistakes and our rights and everything of that sort. And yeah, so yeah. So
Right, there is no absolute good
exactly,
and
Evil or
absolute
absolute
evil.
good.
I
exactly.
think when the self-interest cross a certain moral boundary, it becomes evil. But it's
Yeah,
primarily
Okay.
guided by self-interest only, right? Only thing
definitely.
is that entity doesn't care about the moral compass or the moral boundary, and they cross it. But the driving force is they are not born as evil with horns and some
And
and what drives them as they grow is the self interest, which they actually drive it to beyond greed and beyond ambition, beyond morality, beyond constitution, and become evil. So the good and evil comes from us only, from the society only.
and that brings to one more point as authors. Character development is very much important. The characters' backstories, the transition. So usually, I mean, this is also one of the things that we evolved from our last work. We pay great attention to all the characters in our stories, and each of them will have a character arc and backstory and why the character reacts like that. This is one thing I think, yes, we have really evolved from starting like books to God's Bubble and even further. So, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Maya used to stick out to me in the light birds and structuring light birds. And here in this, yeah, I was about to ask you, like, Lavanya, like, I could understand that you created karma because there is that strong sense of, that emotion that you portray always in your poems also. So I could see that stroke over here. So it was easy to guess it. But the moment her entry is Dhamaka, entry that she comes into the story, and my gosh. And I've never been so intimidated by a character. And like, I really do want to see her alive. And that's one person. Like, anybody in that book comes alive, I'm ready to have a conversation. But not her. I mean, it was
I
like,
know.
gosh, I'm
Very
like,
scary. She's scary.
I just don't want to meet her at all. Like, it just, the word karma. And so beautiful. I mean, it makes sense also. That's how karma would
She
be.
should. She should be like that. Otherwise, how will she reward and she punish? Right?
And that's it, devoid of any feelings.
And
She's not
I
robot though. She's not
Yes.
a robot though. She
She's
is
not a robot. Yeah, she's
the
actually a
epitome, the embodiment of karma.
karma.
Definitely
Exactly. Embodiment of karma.
embodiment of karma, how it should be. And yeah, it was that was an
That's why
excellent.
her entrance scene had to be Dhamaka because
Yeah.
she's one of the main characters in the book that kind of and
The
um,
the air that she carries with
carries exactly that how it had to come. So I really
yeah.
tried a lot to get her
so
there.
so I think what happens in the story arc is, and again, very due credit to Lavanya, is that the badass nature of karma stays throughout, right? And you know that Dimitri is the antagonist, but it kind of softens on you as you reach the book end. And if you soften karma and keep the antagonist wild till the end, like regular Hindi movies or Indian movies, then it's very cliched, I mean, regular representation. Karma is karma on earth, doesn't care whether you're Swapnil or Mehboob or God. तो इट्स लाइक सेंडिंग अ मैसेज, गॉड तो गॉड उधर होगा, यहाँ पे कर्मा चलता है, मेरी बात चलती है. दैट्स व्हाट कर्मा इज. एंड दैट फील ऑफ intimated sense of I'm doing my job, right? I'm karma. Doesn't matter if you are a human or a god. तेरा तो ऊपर चलता होगा, यहाँ यहाँ पे दुनिया में मेरी चलती है. तो अच्छा करेगा तो भला, भला करे तो अच्छा होगा, बुरा करे तो बुरा ही मिलेगा. Doesn't matter if you're god, वो करती है. So that punch, I think, effectively maintained by Lavanya right from the entry to the love making to the departure, and
Yeah,
Dimitri. I don't know. I think Lavanya, we can't write blood sucking villains in our. I don't know. Bhushan
so
करता
see,
है, but then it
No,
kind
no,
of.
no. See, physical,
Uh,
what is more threatening or more dangerous than physical violence is the mental abuse. You know, you beat someone, you hit someone, you can go to the hospital, get it checked, get treatment, and recover. But the mental abuse that you get, that is, it takes time. They have not touched you at all. But
right.
then you are a victim and there's no proof of it. So in that way, Dimitri has, like, or the others have, the antagonist have. So that's even more scarier or, threatening than, the blood-sucking villains that are there.
yeah, and as I hear you all more, right, I'm even more curious. So see, when you talk about, I think I may not have read all the sci-fi books, but whatever I have read, what I've seen that they claim that it's all. I mean, they all deny existence of God, right? Probably they don't talk about karma, they don't talk about God. It's even if it's bad and good verses also, it's all. So in a way, your work is different, right? It's and this is based on my limited read I have done, that it is not conventional sci-fi. There is something more to it than just being a. So I don't know if you
Right.
can classify as a pure sci-fi. I mean, what do you call it? What's the genre you would like to call this book as?
This is the genre, like, a fiction that should actually be fact. It should actually happen, kind of.
Right.
Oh,
It
that's
should
even.
not just be like some of the sci-fis, the new generation, the new Gen Z, or whatever that is. They do
Right.
talk about this is happening in Gen Z, like Gen Z, and
Right.
most of it, it's like you read the books so that you're transported to another world, you enjoy there, and then you come back to reality. But this certain book is like, I just want to be there. I want that to come that live right now. I need justice. If this happens, there's justice. So that kind of genre that is there. So I guess
So,
that
so
that
right.
can
So
happen.
you're right, Swapnil and Neena. It was difficult to put a label on the genre of this book. Are we writing a science fiction? No. Are we
No.
writing a fantasy? No. Everything is on Earth. Ayan is a man. Reena is a woman. So it's Earth में हो रहा है. So no fantasy, fantastic world building. Science, no hardcore scientists or test tube babies or
Code rhythm,
nothing.
rhythm and
So
code, rhythm,
so
I love that line.
so we kind of pondered and even looked up a list of all available genres. And I think the closest that we came to and finally selected the is techno fantasy.
Oh,
So why techno? Because it's all about computers, internet, and artificial intelligence, not pure science. Technology as science is applied, and then the fantasy part is limited to the non-characteristic abode of the Almighty, which is like a huge computer lab. It's not the unknown of the Abrahamic religions or the Kailas or nothing like that. For the first time, I think somebody is visualizing the creator like a cosmic some computer lab. So that much only fantasy building is there. Everything else happens on Earth once he comes down, right? So it may not be the best label for our genre, but I think it is the closest to what we have attempted. Techno fantasy is what we're calling it, right?
And but George Steinrod himself is a sci-fi futuristic author, and who gave the foreword of this book. He classified this as sci-fi.
Sci-fi,
In his
right?
foreword also, he has clearly mentioned that
yeah, I
why he
went
believes it
forward.
is
So yeah,
sci-fi.
that's where I
Yeah.
got this. Yeah.
So, but we really
So
don't
what is
think
the
it.
time span of the entire story? Is it
Oh,
1 year, 10 years, 100 years?
Mm.
probably 1 month, 1 to 3 months. That's it.
Oh, okay.
Within a year, within a year,
So
Within
it's
yeah.
a year.
fast. I think the story is fast
Yes.
paced.
Fast
Mm.
paced.
It could have been faster if karma was not there. और हर जगह टांग अड़ाती है भगवान का. Yeah.
Seriously, seriously.
Right.
But there's so many things that happening. Like, that's what I was like. You can't make this into a movie, Swapnil sir. It's not like,
Uh,
it can get over in 2 hours or 3 hours. There
mm.
are, because they have done so much of research into each and every character
Mm.
minutely. So people, if they have to get the lesson, the message that is there, they would have to explore and delve into each of the character and the events that is happening in every chapter. So that, like, so 20 series, like 20 episodes, or that's a minimum. Can go beyond. So
Nina is
it should
Wow.
being too humble, I guess. I'm totally humbled by
Yeah.
your this thing. But
Right.
yeah, the point is like, just wanted to
No,
add something.
we can do like the Saas Bahu serial. Camera, ayan, 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 and take it
But
to
one
But
more
another.
thing
the
Nina said. One more thing Nina mentioned earlier was the places. Right? She wants to visit those places. So
seriously.
I think yeah. So apart from characters look so interesting, and I've heard few names here. Apart from that, the places also you must have done a lot of research. How did that happen? I mean, it's action packed characters, then
Oh,
places,
there's a lot of action also into it.
action.
there's
There
actually
was a
fighting.
It's
I
not
would
just fancy then. There's lots of action.
So many
lot of
elements in
action.
the book, and there's also rain that has its special importance. For that,
Yes,
you have to read. Rain has got a really special importance in this book.
it's one of
I
my
won't.
favorite lines. Yeah,
Starts and it, I mean, you'll have to actually read.
the
Will
cook and
not.
rain and
Yeah,
cook. Yeah,
has a
good.
Korean
How
effect,
about
and
how
it's
about making it an audio book with some kind of sound effect? I mean, you know,
Good. Probably
maybe.
there are some audio, yes, they could, to those who cannot read, but then the action that is there, apart from the places, the characters and everything, there's a lot of, in one chapter, there's a lot of action thrilling that is going on. You never know who is going to get alive after that duel fight and all.
oh,
It's very so. You wouldn't just, I mean, they have vividly described it in this book, so you would just wonder how would it be in real, like, so yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So, right. So, I mean, the amount of research is certainly more than what is actually shown in the book. And we have given all the areas in our preface. Swapnil, when you get the copy, we'll ship it to you.
yeah.
Read it in the preface, and I'll read out the passage. We acknowledge our debt and gratitude for the rich sources we referred, including but not limited to Adi Shankaracharya, the Mahabharata, Julius Caesar
Oh,
on www.worldhistory.org, A
Oh,
source book in Indian philosophy by Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan and Charles Moore. Zoroaster's influence on Greek thought by Ruhi Afnan. American Gods by Neil Gaiman. Sex in the Sea by Mara Hart. Cults Inside Out by Rick Alan Ross. The Human Condition by Hannah Arendt. History of Russia from Peter the Great to Gorbachev by Dr. Mark Steinberg. Project Immortality to 2045 by Itzkov. The movies Bruce Almighty and The Matrix. Supernatural TV series season 11. And finally, we had a chat with a actual cult member, lady from Russia who lives in America now and escaped from the clutches of the cult. So that much notes, discussion and all have gone
wow,
behind. But
that is amazing. Yeah.
right, and if you reflect all that in the book, it will become a boring textbook kind of thing. But uh, all these are reflected in to some measure without cutting into the narration and the gripping part of the storytelling. So you have to find where Mahabharata is used in this book, okay? Swapnil.
Yes, sure,
Right, and
sir.
it's not difficult once you read. And how Ayan uses Mahabharata in this. How does Julius Caesar figure in this? Not where they are explicitly mentioned by Julius Caesar, but by where they are not mentioned, how we use Julius Caesar in the book. Or I'm sure it will be challenged how Adi Shankaracharya, the great
Yeah,
guru of
the
Hinduism
history.
revival, is the book, and he plays a very key role in terms of inspiration in the book. So I I don't want to reveal what how that is used in the book. And the other thing is, like Nina was saying, God is one. So we kind of uh, took the essence of each religion and faith and described it in one passage. I came as Jesus, I came as Muhammad, I came as Krishna, I came as so many things. You look sudrega nahi. Now I'll come as software engineer. Okay.
And I think probably possible, right?
Obviously, because in that era, he had to come as a carpenter. In one of
Right.
the things, he had to come into the farm, like in Krishna. So this
Right.
is the time of computer engineers. So he's doing as a computer engineer. Wait, no. Content.
And then I think this is the beauty of the joint thing that um not when top coder intelligent designer comes onto earth, how his bubble will be burst, right? uh, is via the internet as well as karma. I think that kind of story twist is difficult for me to imagine if I would attempted this book singly alone, right? Karma is a bitch to the god, and internet, everything is God's creation at the end of the day. And one of God's creation, not human being, the creation of the created, right? God created humans and humans created uh,
Internet.
AI, and that
Yeah.
is outgrowing to become God. So God, the grandfather, has to come down to earth to control it, because it's actually a uh, create creators creations creation. Actually, if you look at it
Right.
very
Right.
technically, right? So we used the free will philosophy that that is used in lot of storytelling in Hollywood and India, that we are not determinists, like destiny and everything you do is predetermined, pre-written. No, we are, both of us are like free will. We are the created, but we are given the paths of and the opportunity of free will to make our choices. So
Right.
it's not right. And how we go into that final destiny and the path, the free will, that nature is maintained without telling it explicitly, right? So there is evil, there is choices that people make, that they what you call change behavior, realize their mistakes, and the the thought process is how the team actually becomes synergistic is uh, Lavanya was saying that Ayan will counterattack Ray, right? So, but we had to take that out of the house because the attack by Ray on Ayan happens inside the house. That's a bit science part of it. You see how Ray will try to kill Ayan. Then the counterattack. I was not understanding why she wanted to take it out outside the house, but then I said, "What about the forces of nature?" Right? I mean, oh, that's cool. Uh, the counterattack by Ion and Ray will employ all the forces of nature: Jal, Agni,
Vayu,
Vayu,
Why
and
that
then बाकी दो क्या है? Space and
space and earth.
धरती, right? मेरा काम क्या था बोलने का, use all the five forces of nature to attack, and it's beautifully narrated by Lavanya. So, and then I was surprised that somebody in Bollywood is copying and coming with movies like Brahmastra and all. I'm just kidding. Yeah, but the vastness of the visualization is in those details. Like Nina is saying, just the counterattack of Ian, not cyber software wise. That's a separate thread that I
Gabbar, no? Gabbar.
covered. But the physical counterattack happens using all the five forces of nature, and that beautifully crafted by Lavanya. And then वो ऐसा बोल के बोलता है कि मैं तुझे मार सकता हूँ, I can kill you, but I won't. So I don't think, see, बोलना easy है, use all the five forces of nature for the hero to attack the villain's soldier, but to put it in the words is very difficult, and now I understand what Nina is saying. So five forces of nature, each force of attack will at least take 2 episodes. इधर ही 10 episode बन गए. Just the right. You need a Russian factory. You need space, fire. You need all those traffic signals, a nuclear. I mean, yeah, I can understand why Nina is saying that this can convert into. I was not understanding, but she's the second time or third time she's telling us, and as I am telling you the details of the book, I understand, right? Just one chapter of physical counter, then one chapter of cyber counter attack, and that can take 10 episodes by itself. I think you are right, Nina. Now I see what you're trying to say, that this has much more actually core than a 3 hour movie. I think it spreads across dozens of episodes. Now I'm myself realizing it. Right. Yeah.
When is part two coming? Sorry, Ronnie. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
No, no, I was just saying that one more thing that I think Mehboob and myself both forgot is one more thread is what is the difference between immortality and eternality? That is, I,
Something we,
I mean, I wanted to
Very
use the word
philosophical.
beautifully, but yeah, it is our own work, so I don't know. It would probably look like gloating about ourselves, but this is something that we covered subtly as well as very exquisitely as well.
right.
Why humans should thrive to be eternal, not immortal. For this itself, I think myself and Mehboob took almost a lot of research. We had shared some
And
topics on
it took
that,
I
and
took
to
two or
get the
three
gist of it,
two,
yeah,
two
two or
or
three
three Google
meetings
Meet calls just
mm,
for
for
understanding
understanding what is
immortality and
and
eternity.
eternality. So we haven't given it very
Right.
exquisitely explained. Why should? But
Right.
in the discussion between Ian and Ray, it comes out like why should we try to be eternal and not try to attempt immortality at all.
Right.
So like that the book has lot of philosophical layers, metaphorical layers that will make you think, and you'll be drawn into it, so you'll create your own world. You'll try to figure out, oh
Right.
okay, if I have to be immortal, what will I do, something like that. So it gives that push up for imagination.
So I'll reveal one thing here, and I said, "Na Swapnil, ki you figure out where Adi Shankaracharya is in the book or Julius Caesar without getting mentioned where is in the book and so on." This book, The Human Condition by Hannah Arendt, is what the definitions we took for immortality was eternity in that dialogue. So if you have read that book, then you can say, oh, yeah, 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 this is Hannah Arendt, the famous writer. Right? Okay, yeah, that's where it comes from. So,
Yeah.
And
No, I think. Sorry.
sorry, I'll
So,
just tell one
yeah,
point.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think most of the authors, I have this problem. Lot of authors, see, the inspiration comes from everything around us. I'm watching a movie, I'm reading something, I'm talking to somebody. Everything in our life, every moment of what we live inspires us. And a lot of authors say that this is my original idea, this is what I have done. It is not like that. We are inspired, but what we see, what we read, what we, kind of interact. And I'm really proud and humbled, and I totally express my gratitude to all those people who gave that opportunity to go and read their work, watch those series, and to appreciate the work. And the work itself was so great that we could borrow a thread of it from them and use it in our own way. So I think this, this is one thing that it really, I get emotional about it. And I think that's how we should do it rather than saying that it is all done by me. It's nothing like that.
True.
Nothing happens by yourself.
I can totally understand because I work in a school called Cochin International School, and it follows an IB curriculum. So here, when our sir was asking us about teamwork, I mean, he wants to tell how beautiful a teamwork is, and he would never say that with a theory class. Here it is like make it practical. So what he did was like, chalo, each of you, Remy and Miss Anil, they're like, each of you bring one ingredient and we're going to make dal puri. And we were like, okay, can't just I bring everything because I don't have all the ingredients. She doesn't have, or somebody doesn't have. So I was like, okay, it's very confusing. Why everyone one ingredient? Okay, anyways, somehow figured it out. We had a lot of conversation and we bought that. And then we were like, make it. A lot of conversations that is happening. So and it became a beautiful dish. It is not just, and when he was giving it to us, he was like, "Not this is not just yours, not one of you. It is all of yours. That is there." So I can understand. You have taken a thread for many people, and that beauty is definitely come out so vividly. I can imagine the amount of research work you have went on to every kind of and I also pushed you to do this, that Europe, where is it exactly from? You were just mentioning that, and then again you had to go for that, not just the philosophical part, not just the cult and everything, the books that I've mentioned, but a lot. But the outcome, I mean, obviously the outcome has also been so beautiful. And the way you have dedicated the book, because Lavanya was, I don't know, one point of time, if I remember, she was like, I was very doubtful to give it to you, Nina, because there is something which is not so, I'm like, I'm a Christian girl. Okay, yes, I do have a Christian background. Will she agree to it? Not. But then the moment I read the dedication to the Creator, forgive us for our bold indulgences, but it was a part of you that exists in us that guide us to write the offbeat story. I was like, wow, yes, it's definitely there. I mean, somehow or the other, some forces of nature definitely led you to write this book, and there's a lot of people behind it. So yeah, they definitely need a thanks too.
And I can see that relationship with the first book that you wrote together, right? Studying like, but there also, I think you guys did a lot of research. You focused on a lot of books. So I think that is the signature of Kalam Babu Lavan Karvarapu, right? Probably in the next books also we'll see that. I think, see, so it's, for a reader, it actually it's what I say. It's like power package that you're providing. It's not just one single thread that you are running and you say, okay, this is what we think. You read it, you take it, you like it or not, you take it. It's not that. You're picking from various sources and putting it in that package. So I think, yeah, and I think it worked well for the first book, Studying Lightworks, and I think it will work well here as well. So I see that
right.
similarity there.
Right. So I think now, like Lavanya said, it's become a second nature to um, get the premise. I do the research, and then we do the layering. And you are already also asked when is God's Bubble 2 coming. Immediately we are currently we are working on a short stories collection called Unconventional. Even June is going away. We are draft writing it, and our team not try can not just be restricted to novels. We can also write short stories together. Is the For that we want to prove through Unconventional. After that, there are two novels, Dil Mill, and Dilmil is not
Interesting title.
Dilmil is not meeting of the hearts or a cliched romantic story. Dil means daughter-in-law and Mil means mother-in-law, right?
Oh,
So Dil.
sounds good.
Oh, oh.
But you wouldn't have any Saas Bahu like this ever before. That's what we'll try for. And after that, there is a story with three female main characters, one from each religion, and you'll see the darkness of life and their perspective on God and the creation. But in the end, how all the streams connect together through these three female characters, and that's the one to third one. After that, we'll schedule which one I don't know. God's Bubble 2, or we'll decide together. But these are the next three in the pipeline. Unconventional, a collection of short stories. Dil Mill, not Saas Bahu, Dil Mill. And Thread of Life, which is actually three female characters.
So,
Um,
yeah, the introduction
and
looked very interesting.
and Fiza says, wouldn't have guessed that. Fiza, could you be text more explicitly? We could probably understand what you're trying to say. Um, and those are the forthcoming projects, apart from the regular, hydro activities and launches. And, yeah. The one thing that probably I slipped my mind is there is a heavy, not I shouldn't say nothing is heavy here. There is a prominent role for cults in this book. How that plays a role in the book, and how we use that as a to use the set as a setting to stage the antagonist, and a key role that the cults gives is there in the book. And for that we read an entire book about culture, and we acknowledged the book, right? Fiza says, okay, Dilmil, she would not have guessed that it is daughter-in-law, mother-in-law, and its meaning. Yeah, when you say Dilmil, it's like hearts meet. But
Shah Rukh
yeah.
Khan movie kind of.
Bill Mill or something like, Jab we met. I was just thinking that okay, fine, but then I couldn't imagine you guys both doing a cliche. This is something had to be will definitely be
Different, right, right.
different. Yeah.
Of course, there will be cryptocurrencies, there will be intrigue, a dead body, but Dilmil is the very unconventional Saas Bahu, right? So,
And one thing when we do our stories or discussion or do the plotline, one thing we ask each other is it too much cliche? Is it cliched? Is it been said before? And I mean, all stories are told. It is a presentation or the narration or a different way of telling them. So we do this exercise like, okay, this is already taken, this is already said. How can you do it differently? So
uh,
I think,
Fiza,
yeah.
would you like to join the video for a couple of minutes? I can add you because we are close to the discussion. Would you come into the video? If you check your uh, WhatsApp, I'll share the link with you. Give me a minute here, and then
As Nina said earlier, also, right? I mean, there is no one very, good person and there's one bad person. I mean, you can't classify as good and bad, right? There's always that overlap.
Mhm. Right. I mean, there is no absolute good and absolute evil is the stand I take. Everything is self-interest and survival. Only when you cross the boundary of morals that you become evil. Otherwise, inherently, we have goodness and evil in all of us. It's how far we take it that. Okay, so Fiza says she may not be able to join. I think, yeah, we're nearing the 90-minute mark now, almost an hour and a half. So, one thing is that Swapnil wrote a book on, wrote a story on fantasy in Deviant, our latest anthology. So, you do have like experience reading and writing fantasies, right?
Yeah, in
So,
fact, I love reading fantasy, and especially where um, there is something different than normal. Okay,
mm,
um, I forgot the name. There was a serial that used to come on Sub Team, comedy serial. But there's a family that came from different planet, landed on Earth, and they were behaving like human beings. So I love
mm,
that serial. Though many people didn't like it, they thought for the
uh-huh,
killing the sci-fi thing. But I loved it because that is something different. You bring something new to
uh,
in a way the routine and boring life.
right, right.
So yes, the
Um,
story that you're talking about is about people from two different planets. One, of course, from Earth, and other
mhm,
person from other planet, and how the uh, people come
mhm,
from other planet to Earth to see what's happening here, and then
mhm.
a tragedy happens at the end.
Right, right. And as far as minor characters are there, there are a lot. Like I mentioned, Vasanti and Nina. I think in particular was asking questions about the Nepali monk and the woman on the. I think she got uh, asked a few questions and add some detail here and there. I think those the characters are also endearing in the climax when Ayan goes and is associated with this.
Because I was also in my journey, like I was
Mhm.
taking a solo trip to Kolkata, and I happened to meet with Nazrek and Naziba there, my friends. So it was a trip that was not so well planned. Like if I have nowhere to sleep, I'll just sleep on the street kind of. But then I was helped by a lot of strangers and Aditi and a lot of them. And then I just happened to meet this very old lady. And she was so kind to me. So I was like, I really want to see how she looks. And I was also like, pestering you. Is this how she will look? Is this how? So it was.
Oh, okay, okay. Now we get it. Okay.
So yeah, BG is one such lady. BG, we call her BG Bai. So we're just sitting with her. You know the warm that land that you never know, you've never heard
Mhm.
of. You reach out there and you get this kindness and warmth of a mother from a very old lady. It's so very special. Like you feel like you're a small little baby out there. So yeah,
Wow.
so that's what. So it was connected to my life as well. Like what was happening in real. So
Right.
that's like I
On your
needed.
trip, on your trip to Bengal, but happily now you are back in God's own country. So.
Yeah, but I've carried Bengal is right now a part of me. So every time, like after I've come from there, there's so many viewpoints and some many things that have changed in me, and it's very evident. Aditi knows that well. She I met her through iFest, and she's like every time she sees a picture, there's you and my friends also. You look like a Bengali now. Like yeah, maybe. And the teachers are telling like maybe do a DNA test. There should be someone out there in Bengal. I was crying
Wow.
when I was coming back. This book is the only one that make me to normal because I didn't want to come back. It was my brother's marriage. I'm supposed to be there, but I was like, I just didn't want to come. I was at the airport. I was sitting and crying, and I was like, I don't want to
Oh,
come back. It was such a
uh,
good trip. thanks to the friends I had there, and they helped me a lot with the stay and everything. So I made a connection to every person whom I met there. It was nothing wrong, or it was
Hmm.
wonderful. So, and then because I was that in that mode, this book set me fine floating when I came back to Kerala. So yeah.
Right.
So Nina, you're live from God's own country, right? So
God's
probably you're
bubble.
representing, yeah. So you're representing God in this discussion.
I am humbled. I'm no one to represent God, but yeah, God's own country, yes, definitely. Because yeah, yes,
Right.
definitely.
You're a citizen of that
She
country.
she's wearing white today, which is the name of a character in the book.
I knew you would get that.
And
I
in
knew
that
it.
way, and in
I
that
asked this
way,
question. I asked this
Swapn,
question to Lavanya. Yeah.
and Swapnil, she's representing God, and conveying that through her dress color. So when you read the book, you'll know what. So
Okay.
When I got this dress from my sister Vinny Chichi, she gifted this to me. I was like, this is what I'm going to wear. This is definitely what I'm going to wear for the launch. I had decided already.
right. Um, yeah, I think uh, once again, can you repeat, Lavanya, in how many days it will be available? This book, paper version. Today is 26th of
Great,
June,
sir.
so
Tomorrow I'll share the links.
in a
Yeah,
day or two it will
from
be
tomorrow,
available,
yeah.
and you can order it
Change.
via Amazon. And what about
Flipkart.
Flipkart? The paperback will be
Yes,
available?
it's live on Flipkart.
No, no, it will be available. Paperback will be available both on Flipkart
Both
and Amazon.
Amazon and Flipkart. Yes.
Right. So,
Sir, sorry to interrupt you here.
mhm.
Lavanya said that it won't be available on Kindle, right? So can you again tell
Kindle.
why? What's the purpose?
The Kindle
Because
part is the
um,
whole interactive novel together, one file, one order. So if you order, you'll order cross strings on the e
Okay.
version. You will,
Okay.
if you order paperback, God's Bubble, you'll get only God's Bubble paperback.
Okay.
So if you
Okay.
want to read
The
God's Bubble
entire
Kindle, you will read the whole cross strings,
whole course. Okay. Okay.
all the
Okay.
five, and it's
because this was a part of this interactive novel,
Correct. Correct.
and
Correct.
and the interactive novel has overlapping links, like from one story to another story. So it has like four
Right.
parallel threads, and we have made it partly interactive, where if you don't like one character, you can jump to the another story and read it. So in between the
Okay.
stories, there are links where the reader can jump to another story if he doesn't like it or he wants to read something else, like that.
Okay.
So there are options. We couldn't do that in paperback, right? So what we said was, together we'll do always the Kindle version, and individual books we'll do only paperbacks, because in paperbacks
Okay.
you cannot do the links and all that stuff.
Right. 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 Right.
and God's Bubble paperback will read like a standalone. You don't have to read the other components of
You
cross
don't
strings.
need to also, right?
No need to. And the connection is written in the preface, but this will read like a standalone story with its act 1, act 2, act 3, and hopefully will interest you, entertain you, and for those who are curious, can lead to some kind of research. Where is this part, that part, and so on. Infotainment, if you will. We tried our best to improve from starting Lightbugs, and I hope we have achieved at least some part of it in terms of storytelling. Try do it better, and hopefully continue that improvement journey as we roll out more stories in form of short stories or novellas or novels. And I think with that, we can wrap it up here, guys. Who are watching this live or will watch the recorded version, please do go to Amazon and get entertained. Yeah, God's Bubble paperback. All right. Shall we close it here then? Thanks a lot from the bottom of my heart, our hearts, Nina and Swapnil, for being a
Thank you too.
part
Thank
of
you.
Thank you. Thank you for yeah
for being a part
giving me
of
the
today's
opportunity.
launch, for being a part of today's launch, for being a part of the literature journey, and for being a part of our life. Right. Thanks from the bottom
Thank
of
you
the
to
heart,
you
Thank
Swapnil
you.
and
also.
Nina.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Take care. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Have a good night. Bye.